Our story takes us to Narhira, prison sector 4, where the inmates are in the mess hall, and honestly, the food looks good. Halfway decent with rice, veggies, and some kind of meat. Our protagonist grabs his tray and sits down alone at one of the tables. Meanwhile, one of the prisoners helps himself to a little more food. But the young man wasn't in the mood to eat. He was watching everything carefully. Suddenly, one of the inmates glares at him and asks why he's staring. Right after, his tattooed buddy eggs him on, trying to get him to do something. The big guy is confused by the new kid's lack of reaction. Annoyed, the other guy spits near our protagonist to intimidate him. He then tells the kid to eat it all, or else he knows what's coming. The pair of bullies asks him what's with the long face and if he has any manners. That's when they call him a murderer, and our hero's eyes fill with rage. He remembers he's going to get revenge on everyone who framed him and stomps on the guy's foot. Lunging forward, he screams that he'll make them all feel the same suffering he felt. And with a furious glare, he's ready to finish off those who provoked him. The brood is completely frozen, stunned by the rookie's attitude. In a swift move, our protagonist lunges forward using his chopsticks as a weapon. Because of this, a lot of red liquid flies everywhere in the mess hole. He scores a direct hit on the guy's face, who red is in pain. The story then takes us back to 2 weeks before all of this. The scene changes to a table in a bar covered with drinks and food. Our protagonist is sitting on a couch with a very serious expression. He's watching a girl named Mayo Kurosawa, planning to confess his feelings to her. The young woman says she needs to go to the restroom and leaves with a friend. Meanwhile, the guy watches her walk away. He takes a deep breath and with a confident smile decides today is the day. So, he gets up and heads in the same direction the girl went. Reaching the hallway, he finds her and calls her over for a chat. The young man says he needs to tell her something important, and she questions his serious tone. He musters up the courage and finally confesses, asking the girl to be his girlfriend. The young woman politely turns him down, saying she doesn't want a boyfriend right now. Our protagonist is in shock as she walks away without a second glance. He's frozen in place, unable to believe what just happened. Back at the table, he takes out his frustration by crushing a beverage can. The guy starts drinking nonstop to drown his sorrows from the rejection. Chugging one can after another, he tries to forget the brush off he just got. With that, he slams another empty can on the table, already losing consciousness. Thanks to the booze, he completely passes out with his head on the table. Totally blacked out, he has no idea what's happening around him. When he wakes up, he finds himself alone in the dark room and wonders where everyone went. So, the young man gets up and goes to the door to see what's up. Outside, he's met with police officers in a crime scene. A cop grabs him and accuses him of the murder of the girl, Mio Kurosawa. Our protagonist screams that it's impossible and tries to break free from the guards. Desperate, he clings to the police tape, not understanding the accusation. The guy is completely dazed by the situation, not getting any of it. Right before his eyes, he sees the body of the girl he liked lying on the ground. The scene cuts to the courtroom, where the judge sentences him to 30 years in prison. The girl's parents are outraged, screaming that he should have gotten the maximum penalty. Our protagonist's world collapses, and he wonders how it all came to this. He remembers Mo's smile and questions if this is all just a nightmare. With tears in his eyes, the young man swears he wasn't the one who committed the crime. His father stands up in court and defends his son's innocence with everything he's got. In response, the victim's family accuses him of still making excuses for what he did. Immediately after, the girl's relatives go after the guy's father. They knock him to the ground, and our protagonist screams desperately for his dad. Being held back, he begs them to stop hurting his old man, even while taking a beating. The father promises he will prove his son's innocence. The scene changes, showing the exterior of a building that looks like the prison. Back in the present, he's being stared down by other inmates in his cell. As he enters the cell, the other prisoners watch him with suspicion. Holding his belongings, one of the inmates asks him about his crime. The guy with the tattoos gets closer to intimidate him, but he's left speechless. With that, another prisoner hits him from behind and tells him to answer. On the floor, he cries and says he didn't do anything and that he was framed. The big guy calls him over with a less than friendly expression. Our protagonist obeys and stands in front of the cell's leader. Without warning, the inmate lands a powerful kick right in his stomach. The impact sends him flying backward, and he hits the cell floor hard. The bully lifts him up and asks if he's the murderer from the news. Even while denying the accusation, he gets beaten up again by the other inmates. The leader says he can't stand people like him and dares him to fight back. Seeing the lack of reaction, he tells his goons to tie the new guy up. Our protagonist tries to break free, but the other guys are stronger. Soon after, his hands are tied tightly, so he can't escape. One of the bullies yells at him, asking if he still thinks he can resist. With that, he lands a punch with all his strength right in our protagonist's stomach. The blow is so powerful, it makes the guy spit up a lot of blood. With his hands tied, he can't defend himself and becomes a human punching bag. Faced with the situation, the young man is all beaten up with no strength left to fight. The cell leader grabs him by the hair and glares at him with a look of contempt. He then threatens him, saying that if he tells the guards anything, it will be worse. Our protagonist memorizes the attacker's face with a look of pure hatred. The next day, a guard calls him for a chat in the prison hallway. The officer reveals terrible news: his parents passed away in an accident. Tojo is in complete shock, and the guard asks if he has any other relatives. Seeing that the guy doesn't answer, the officer insists on the question about his family. With tears in his eyes, our hero replies that he has no one left in the world. The guard says he doesn't care anymore and sends him away without any compassion. Right after, the officers walk away to eat, leaving Tojo there alone. Back in the mess hall, our protagonist grabs his tray with the day's meal. With a completely empty look, he sits at the table with no desire to eat. At the same time, one of the bullies who bothers him is also getting his cho. Tojo watches everything from a distance with a serious and calculating expression. From there, the guy approaches and immediately starts yelling at our hero. His tattooed partner just watches the scene with a little smirk. The brute continues to stare down the new guy, waiting for a reaction. With that, his buddy spits right next to the tray to provoke him even more. He then threatens the guy, telling him to eat everything without complaining. The pair of idiots asks what's with the long face and if he has any manners. That's when they really hit a nerve, calling him a murderer, which sends him over the edge. The scene of the girl rejecting him flashes back into our protagonist's mind. To make matters worse, one of the guys throws trash on top of his rice. He also remembers his father's promise, who took a serious beating to defend him. With all these memories, Tojo's expression changes completely to one of hatred. He remembers when he was beaten and humiliated by the same guys in the cell. At that moment, he wonders why he has to suffer so much and realizes he has nothing left to lose. From then on, he grips his chopsticks tightly, thinking that nobody would care if he kicked the bucket. The word murderer echoes in his mind along with the bully's mocking smile. But our protagonist decides he can't check out yet. He escorts to settle. With that, he stumps on the guy's foot with all his might and swears revenge against those who framed him. Immediately after, he lunges forward, screaming that he'll make them all feel what he felt. And with a completely unhinged look, he's ready to tear it all down. The brood is completely frozen, stunned by the rookie's sudden change in attitude. In a swift move, Tojo lunges forward, using the chopsticks as if they were a weapon. Because of this, a lot of red liquid flies everywhere in the middle of the mess hall. He scores a direct hit on the guy's face, who is in pain from the attack. The bully screams desperately in pain while trying to cover the wound. His partner is in shock and yells for his boss, who is on the floor. Without wasting a second, Tojo turns to the others and tells them to drop dead. The other inmates are furious and yell at Tojo for attacking their boss. But our protagonist doesn't back down. He grits his teeth, ready for whatever comes next. One of the goons is visibly scared by the new guy's change in attitude. Before the guy could even think, Tojo charges forward with insane speed. He lands a devastating blow right in the middle of the other prisoner's face. With a look of pure fury, he thinks that since he's going to bite the dust anyway, he's taking all these scumbags down with him. The punch is so brutal that the guy is knocked out cold and collapses on the floor, unresponsive. Because of this, the bully's body is thrown backward by the force of the impact. Without giving him time to breathe, our hero is already on to the next target. The guy takes a serious beating and can't even lift an arm to defend himself. At the same time, one of the other inmates runs to try and stop him from behind. The guy hits him with a punch to the back, but Tojo doesn't even seem to feel the blow. The inmate is ticked off by the rookie's resilience, who just keeps fighting. Our protagonist turns around with a crazed look, and the guy wonders if he's lost his mind. Amid the chaos, the guards arrive in the mess hall and yell for him to stop. So, one of the officers grabs him from behind to try and restrain him. The officer punches him and complains about him causing trouble, but Tojo doesn't even seem to feel the blow and glares at the guard with a terrifying look. Scared, the officer tells them to take the injured guy to the infirmary before it's too late. Meanwhile, our protagonist screams out of pure rage at the whole situation. He breaks free and lands a powerful spinning kick on the guard holding him. Because of this, the officer is completely stunned by the force of the attack. Immediately after, Tojo runs, and the guard yells, thinking he's going to throw himself against the wall. Several other inmates and officers join in to try and hold the guy back. From there, they grab him tightly while he struggles to break free. Even while being held, he continues to scream and fight with all his might. The scene changes to the infirmary, where we see in 4 bag hanging. Our protagonist is lying down and seems to have lost the will to live. The doctor explains to the guard that he'll be in danger if he continues to refuse food. Meanwhile, an elderly janitor enters the infirmary room to clean. With a broom in hand, he starts sweeping the floor of the place calmly. Suddenly, the old man stops and tells the young man not to throw his life away. Our protagonist hears the advice but remains lying down without any expression. The old man asks who will clear his parents' names if he passes away. Now, upon hearing this, Tojo's eyes widen and he becomes alert. So, he sits up in bed and asks what the old man just said. The old man then questions if he ever stopped. To think that the accident might not have been real. Tojo is even more shocked and asks what he's trying to imply. With a serious look, the old man states that our hero's parents were murdered. From there, the young man grabs him by the collar and demands to know how he knows that. The old man calms him down and asks directly if he really did in that girl. Our protagonist looks him in the eye and denies the accusation with absolute certainty. Given this, the old man concludes that his parents were eliminated for finding evidence. Tojo remembers that he always found everything very strange. From the beginning of the case, he questions who would have the guts to do that and what the motive would be. With that, tears of pure rage stream down his face as he grits his teeth. Tojo screams that the old man is right and that he can't check out until he avenges his parents. Miss Heikia gives a satisfied little smile at the young man's new determination, but he warns that in his current state, Tojo won't be able to do anything and that Gariki wants to finish him. Given this, the old man says that fortunately, there is a way to survive. He flashes a big grin and praises our protagonist's courage, saying he likes him. From there, Tukia offers to help if he survives, and the young man doesn't understand. The old man reveals with a sinister look that his help is for escaping from prison. Suddenly, the old man's expression changes when he hears a noise from outside. Before leaving, he hands Tojo a book and says it will be very useful in the future. Our protagonist takes the book and watches the old man walk away down the hall. The book's cover is about human anatomy and its main weak points. The guy asks who he really is, and the old man introduces himself as Sikia, but he adds that the young man can just call him Hold Timer. Suddenly, a guard bursts through the infirmary door and enters the room. He yells at our protagonist for calmly reading a book. The officer complains that the mess he made has become a nightmare for everyone. With that, he sends him to solitary for a month to cool his head. So, the guard throws him forcefully into the dark cell without any mercy. The metal door closes and our hero is left alone in complete darkness. Inside, he holds the book and thinks that he no longer wants to cash in his chips. Looking at the anatomy book, he finds a new purpose for living. Now, with a determined look, he swears he will get his revenge. 15 days pass and the solitary confinement door is finally opened.